Thank you, Noah. Hey, can you give a hand for Noah, Lauren, everybody here at Creative Mornings for putting this amazing event together? How cool is this? And of course, Entrepreneur Sandbox and everybody that sponsored today's event. My name is Jen Wright. J-Rock is my stage name. I've been in the industry for about 25 years. That's the music industry. And I've been doing this thing for some time. And throughout this process as a musician, there was an opportunity to work with artists and go into artist support. So at some point in my career, that was what it was. There wasn't a lot of people doing the kind of music that I was doing in Hawaii, which is R&B, like hip hop, some top 40 stuff, just covers, just having a good time. And the opportunity to work with other artists and to also kind of create space for them to be seen was there. And I was just very privileged to just be able to have enough guts to try and figure out what that looked like for me. Anyways, I think the main thing as far as me finding my rhythm, so to speak, I mean, that's the journey I'm still on. I actually helped kind of build this business for myself, which now I'm really excited. I have my best friend Quinn helping me. We have our music company Geeky that we just started in 2022 that we're working on. Thank you. Like it's just been incredible. We're doing some really cool stuff, and but in that process, I just realized that I just hadn't been present all this time. I was just doing a full-time job and music and trying to do music support and doing as much as I possibly could. And through that, like it just kind of stumped the growth of some of the artists because I think there was a capacity that you have to hit, and you can't really find your sense. You can't really find your flow without trying to make some changes, and so it required being single-minded. So I've been doing music now since the beginning of June of this year. That's all we do, and through that flow, you're just really trying to work on some bigger things to support our industry, and I'm really excited about that. I do want to make sure that you guys listen to these amazing speakers that I'm about to introduce because they have, they're rocking it out in our industry as we speak. They're a younger generation of artists, and can't wait for you guys to hear them. So let me introduce them to you. Hailey Fines from Ragamuffs, stemming from the DIY music scene in Honolulu, Hawaii. Hailey, also known as Ragamuffs, reached an unexpected heights with her original indie rock bedroom pop music. All her recording and first tour expenses were crowdsourced via Kickstarter. It surpassed the goal of $8K in 1 month thanks to generous supporters and organic marketing. And so now they have this growing stream of 4.22 million streams on Spotify alone. Let's just hear from her. Where is she at? Hailey, there she is.
Hello.
Hello, ma'am.
Good morning, everyone. Wow, I like the bio you got there. Thank you. Oh my God. I guess, I mean, you said most of, I guess, a summary. I play indie rock music. This year I've done a bunch of like opening shows at the Republic for some of my favorite artists. If you've been to like Wallows, Jimmy Eat World, Men I Trust. Well, I don't know if that was this year, but there's a lot I could ramble on about, but that was basically a good summary. I have my own original music out and just trying to spread the good word of indie rock music in Hawaii.
Amen, Hailey. Give it up for Hailey, guys. All right, next up to the plate, we got Monarch from the group Crossing Rain. Has anybody heard of Crossing Rain? Make some noise if you guys have heard of them. If you haven't, take a look. They're doing something completely different than what we're used to in the scene. Monarch, tell them a little bit about yourself.
Aloha, good morning. My name is Monarch. I'm in the group Crossing Rain. We're a pop group, so you know we sing, we dance, we hit choreography on stage, and we're not really a group that is seen often or maybe even ever here in Hawaii, so I'm really excited to be here to be able to share a little bit about my experience, especially hopefully I'll be able to add maybe an extra element too of dance because I had to learn how to dance when I joined Crossing Rain, so that's another element of rhythm that has really changed the way that I make music.
Amazing, Monarch. Yee! And then next we got Drew Henme. Drew's a Nahoku Hanohano award-winning, nominated singer-songwriter, award-winning producer. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Drew.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming down. I'm Drew. I am, predominantly these days a producer doing a lot of stuff in the sync licensing space, so like music for TV, ads, stuff like that. Also have my singer-songwriter, fledgling singer-songwriter project that I'm kind of ignoring these days. But in any case, it all informs each other element of my musical personality, and stoked to be here with you all today.
Thank you, Drew. Personal shout out to Drew, because I know Drew works with one of the artists that we get to work with, Melanie. So Drew's always working with Melanie, and we really appreciate Drew. The last artist, that certainly not least artist I'm about to introduce, is Ryan Higgins, also known as Higgs, who you just heard perform. Can we give a hand for Higgs? He's actually came all the way from the Big Island this morning, so really stoked to have him here. He's a singer, songwriter, rapper, looper artist, grew up in the old sugarcane fields of Hamakua. Come on over, Higgs. Maybe you can share some things that I didn't mention, a little bit about yourself.
Check, check. I'm left-handed. I have a pet tortoise, and I'm from the Big Island. I know you can tell, right? No, I'm stoked to be here. Thanks for having me. This is really cool. I love rhythm. I love music, so let's go.
Let's go. All right. Okay, so just to kind of keep us in, because we have like about 20, maybe 30 minutes at most, I'm going to keep probably glancing over it for time, but just so that we can keep things going, let's just try and see if we can keep our answers between a minute or two and see if we can get through these questions. Okay, so let's start off with an easy icebreaker question for everybody down the line. When did you decide to pursue music?
So I think for me, one of the moments that really clicked, like I played music since I was like 5 years old. I took ukulele lessons at Roy Sukuma. Ended up taking lessons at like Music Works, and I think in college I started to play more like original music, and then I formed a band. So I was just learning a lot about the music scene, mostly like hanging out with like the punk scene, alternative rock scene, around Chinatown, all those bars, types of venues. And I remember throwing my first show over at Hawaiian Brian's, and I had no idea what like a good turnout was or like a not so good turnout was when it came to these shows, because I was so new. And I remember just inviting everyone that I knew, and I was just really excited. And then showing up and to that show, like seeing the turnout really motivated me. I was like, what the heck? There's so many people that actually like made the time to come out. And the promoter at the end of the night was like, oh, that was like the most packed we've seen this place like ever. And it was like our first show, so I think that definitely sparked something in me. And with those types of moments, like it just kept growing and growing. And after throwing more shows, like the turnouts just kept growing and growing. And it was just like, oh my God, these people want something. They want to hear stuff and more. But that too, and then I think there's a lot that I didn't think about going into it. So like even as in terms of like the business side, I think that's what I had to consider when it came to like deciding if I wanted to pursue this. Because I mean, there's a lot of factors besides just creating, when it's like you're trying to make a career out of this and make money in a way, which I hate thinking about, but you have to think about that stuff. Absolutely. And all the numbers, the marketing numbers, stream counts and all that, like it's a lot. But stuff like that, it definitely led me to like put out my first single, which I just wanted like 1,000 streams on Spotify, but I don't know, it kind of blew up more than that. I got playlisted for like being my first single on Spotify, and that kind of just led me to want to make more and more music. So yeah.
Yes. Monarch?
I started making music in high school. I was just listening to some of my favorite artists at the time, which were Earl Sweatshirt, Tyler the Creator, and Vince Staples, like all the Odd Future guys. And it just inspired me to try to just make a song. And so I got GarageBand on my computer, and I made like the worst beat ever made in history. Wrote the worst bars ever written in history, and then now I'm here somehow.
The rest is history.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, this journey to doing music full-time was something, I just never really thought that I was going to do it. Never really thought about doing it as a career. I always thought it was going to be like a semi-professional hobby. Maybe I gigged a couple times a week. Maybe I like put out a single here and there. But it wasn't until I went to the Hawaii Songwriter Festival in 2019. Shout out. If you guys haven't gone, any musicians here, definitely check it out. But I learned about that you didn't necessarily have to be an artist to make a living doing music. And for me, I think one thing that might be a little different than others is that, I'm more pursuing the production path of things. And the ability, they basically told me at the Songwriting Festival, they showed me that, hey, you can just make music, in your underwear, in your bedroom if you want to, in your studio, and you can make a living doing that. I was like, that sounds great. I want to do that. So, but I was still working a 9 to 5 or 7 to 5, whatever you want to call it. And eventually, it was kind of a perfect storm of things where things at my job, my corporate job, got so kind of toxic and bad that it almost just it felt like I was like, well, why not? Let's just give it a go. If not now, then when? And so I did it and haven't looked back, 3 years later. So.
And you're saying to make sure we knock on the door before we walk into a recording session with underwear situation.
I mean,
Yeah, I'm just like, all right. Thanks, Jeremy.
Yeah, if it's Higgs, he don't have it.
All right, Higgs.
I looked into a spoon one day, and ever since I can remember, I've loved music. I've loved rhythm. I remember growing up in church, there was this drummer that was kind of my mentor, and I remember watching him play stuff, and I think I was 10, 11 at the time, and I would watch him play a song, and I would be like, you know what, I could do that, in the mind that only a naive, cocky 10-year-old could have. I was like, that's easy, I could do that. Turns out I couldn't do it. I was terrible, but he gave me my first little electronic drum kit. It was like a 5-piece thing, about the size of a medium-sized dog. I don't know why I used that analogy, but I do not condone animal violence. But yeah, I started playing on that thing, and I was terrible, but I was hooked, and I knew that this is gonna be part of my life in some way, this music thing. And then a few years later, another sign that I was prioritizing music was that my parents were like, okay, this summer you can either get a guitar or you can go on this fun trip to Oahu. And I was like, guitar. So that was an indicator of where music was for me, and it's always kind of been in the forefront of my life.
I love it. You guys are all very humble on this panel because it's cute. We're gonna talk about some obviously music-related things, but then also we want to kind of expand into maybe how we can be a little more inclusive with the rest of our audience and how we look at rhythm in a different way too. So this one's gonna be however you choose to do it. You all communicate in your creative spaces with such unique styles. What prompted you to move to the beat of your own drum, so to speak? Who wants to take that one?
You can go first.
Me? Yeah. I'll go first. All right. So I grew up, or I started off as a drummer, and so I guess I was already moving to my own beat, kind of. And I started playing in high school and stuff, and playing in different bands here and there. And then at some point, I started writing songs. I think I wrote my first song when I was 13. And it was this really depressing, just ballad. And I'm pretty sure, if I heard it now, I would just die of cringe. But I started realizing, I really like expressing myself this way, but I'm a drummer. So it's kind of hard to write songs without melodic instruments. So I was like, maybe I should start learning some other instruments. So long story short, I decided to branch off on my own from my band and become a solo artist. And started getting really into like looping and just like trying to find creative ways to accompany myself, like create this whole imaginary band kind of a thing. I don't know if this is answering the question at all, but I'm just going to keep going. So I was getting really into the looping stuff, vocal looping, instrument looping. I started playing ukulele, and I just kind of felt like what I was doing was something a little bit unique, and it felt right to me. Felt like kind of my own little path. And I think that's an important thing for artists. Like it's easy. Well, I wouldn't say it's easy, but there's so many good artists and so much good music out there. You can just emulate other artists, and that's fine and great. But I think what really separates a great artist is finding what works for them, and like creating a unique sound that they love, and that because they love it, it translates into other people loving it. So that's kind of what I've been trying to do with my artist thing, is just like, these are sounds and things that I like, and I'm gonna just like push it out there, and hopefully other people like them too. And it's been kind of working out so far. So.
Period. You have a mic, Mark. What do you got? What kind of answer you got for us?
Well, I homeschooled in middle school, so that's the first thing. That's it. Automatic, gonna march to the beat of your own drum. But I think because I came into music very late, I had many other passions, like fashion, and now dance is also another one of my passions. And the way that I love those things, not as much as music necessarily, but they can play a part in it. And so I think like incorporating other things that I love in my life into my music. And now, as I'm writing more music, I'm getting better at incorporating different parts of my life and expressing myself differently. More recently, a lot of my music has really been about just being outside and working in my mom's garden, or like in a farm, or in a lo'i or something. And I think that's another thing that I love. My dream is to one day have my own garden and be self-sustainable. And so I like to incorporate that into my music, whether it's lyrically or even like sonically, like a sonic vibe of being in a garden or something like that. And so the more that I get to know myself, then the more that my music can become like a clear representation of myself.
That's beautiful. Hailey.
So I think for me, I absorbed a lot of like indie rock artists growing up, and a lot of YouTube artists, and I think just absorbing and being inspired by some of my favorite bands. And in that genre especially, I feel like they're all so unique, and that's what stood out to me. And what made these artists unique is just them like genuinely being themselves, because you can't replicate that. And I think that's what kind of inspires me to kind of just be stronger at like being myself, and trying not to think too much about what other people are gonna think of you. And it's really hard to do, because I think we all do fall into that, where you're like comparing yourself to other artists and like, oh, this is so cool, I want to like do that too. But I think you have to, for me, I try to do what just feels right and the most genuine. I try not to be I don't know, putting myself in uncomfortable places. And also I feel like I had a thought and then I just forgot it. What was the question? No, I'm just kidding.
Do you want me to repeat it?
Oh, no, I'm just kidding. Okay. And then, so yeah, I think just genuinely being yourself. Oh, and then I'd say similar to what you were saying earlier, how in the scene, at least for when I was just getting my experience, I feel like I didn't notice too much indie bands similar to, there's a lot of different types of indie music and alternative music, but specifically what I was inspired by was Japanese breakfast kind of vibes, like Mac DeMarco, Wallows, and that list goes on and on, Claro, bedroom pop kind of feel, or DIY type of artist where you can do it from your bedroom. And I wanted to kind of, I guess, bring that out more in Hawaii specifically. I didn't have any thoughts of moving out anywhere, but I just thought it was so cool. people were feeding me other genres. My brother tells me, you should play like these other bands and covers of that. But I'm like, no, it's just not me, and I can't like do it justice. And I think just sticking to that and just really like honing in on all of, I don't know, all these traits that like make those artists unique and like make yourself unique, and just putting it out there. And I think that's what, I don't even know if that makes sense. I'm like,
That does.
I get nervous
Yeah.
public speaking, but yeah, so yeah.
That's
Yes.
awesome, actually.
Yes.
I never even heard like any of those genres you mentioned, so that's something feel like I want to look into. Drew.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hearing a kind of common thread here that while we might all maybe seem to march to the beat of our own drum, we're all just kind of following what feels right and authentic to us.
Period.
And it's kind of the same thing for me. You know, I've always liked so many different kinds of things. And even, you know, when me and all my friends were just like, only listen to punk rock, still at home, I would still secretly love watching TRL and just like listening to like all this. Did I just date myself a little bit?
It's
Maybe?
okay.
Okay.
It's okay. I'm older than you, so it doesn't
We're
really
not all that young on this panel. But yeah, and so I've just always, like, just from a musical standpoint, I've always loved listening to so many different kinds of music. And it's now just formed this kind of, this cake that is now like my creative output. And so, yeah, I think it maybe is kind of unique, but I think it's just the result of just all of my life experiences coming together into one.
And who doesn't love cake? Anyways,
Cake is great.
I think that's a key word that Drew hit on that I feel like all of you guys explain is authenticity, for sure. I think when you finally sink into who you feel you are as an artist and whatever journey that is, and you can take in the little influences but still decide what's comfortable for you. It's like the universe just kind of makes things happen for you, and that's what we continue to see with all of your careers. Just the opportunities is because you're putting out music that is everything that you are, and that's always growing. It's always constantly moving, which is amazing. Okay, here's something that kind of touched in. I really loved how Monarch mentioned going out into nature or whatever, so it almost feels like this kind of goes right into the next question, which is, what are your favorite rhythms in your life? Like maybe sounds and patterns of the cities and town you live in, the dripping of rain, coffee shops they visit, sounds of the vacuum. Shout out to my team for giving me these wild questions. What are your favorite rhythms in life, Higgs?
I live out in the sticks in like a small little area. Well, actually, I just moved to Waimea, but for a long time I lived out in this tiny little secluded area on like 5 acres of cane grass land. And we have, I don't know if you guys have been to Big Island, but we have these little frogs called koki frogs. They're like, and think of that times like about 50,000. And some people don't like it, but I kind of like, it's almost like a soothing sound to me at this point, like just growing up around that sound. Every night you hear them coming out. So that's I don't know if that's a rhythm. I think it is a rhythm. I think almost everything, if you listen hard enough, has its own rhythm, I would say. Sometimes when I'm driving, I'll just tap my leg to like the beat of the windshield wiper and try to create like a little song in my head, or like the indicator turn. So those are a few. Oh, one thing that I really have been into lately is breathing. I guess everybody that's alive is into breathing, but
I love doing that too.
yeah. We should be friends. But what I mean is like intentional breathing and like kind of focused. So there's a pattern I do where it's like 4 seconds in, 4 seconds hold, 4 seconds out, 4 seconds hold. It's called box breathing. And it really kind of helps me to just be wherever I'm at, just kind of ground myself. And so that's, I would say, like breath and just like sounds like that. It's like a soothing rhythm to me. It's kind of like something that really comforts me.
Thank you, Higgs. Drew?
Yeah, both of the things. Well, you talk about windshield wipers and blinkers. For me, when you first mentioned that question, when I'm listening to music in the car, and then when the windshield wipers or the blinker actually align to the tempo, like it might only be for like a couple beats, but you're just like, yes. It's like when the scissors hit a glide and they just go, and it just feels good. But also breathing. Yeah, I mean, for me, every morning, I have a meditation practice, and that is just a really good way to kind of just drop in and like, okay, what's the tempo of my like being right now? Like, that sounded really new agey, but just like where am I at? Like, am I feeling relaxed? Am I feeling like kind of uptight? And you can really kind of tell how with your breath can sometimes tell you how you're feeling before your brain does. And so speaking from a rhythmic perspective, that's been really important as well.
I love it. Monarch, these are great.
I was trying to think of an artsy answer while they were talking. So my artsy answer is probably just birds. I like listening to birds sing. The place that we stay at, Uncle and Nancy, they put up a birdhouse like right outside our front door. So I just listen to them a lot in the mornings. But my real answer is there's always this rhythm. It's known as a son clave rhythm, and it's basically a rhythm you hear a lot in music, but it basically just goes like. And that's my favorite rhythm. It's my default. It's default playing in my head at all times. If there isn't a song stuck in my head, then it's just that rhythm from some song, or there's another song that I'm playing and I'm putting that rhythm underneath it. I think that you could put that rhythm under any song and it'll be good. Like, you could remix it and it'll be a good song. And it's actually, I think that rhythm comes from Ghana, from traditional African music, and it moved to South America. And that rhythm is just like at the core of like human dancing, and that it was created when there wasn't, the instruments were like all drums. It was all percussion. It was like all rhythm and chanting. And so I think that's why I connected, before I even knew the history of it or anything, I connected really deeply with it, because I think there's a little bit of that in all of us, like that rhythm, and it's called like the most perfectly balanced rhythm, and there's different variations of it that are slower or faster, but yeah, that's my favorite rhythm. Yeah. I don't know if that's the right way to answer the question,
You
but
can answer any way you want, and that was beautiful. Hailey.
Nice. I am learning a lot from all of you. I think in terms of like day-to-day life, I really like being in airports. I mean, I don't go to airports every day, but like, I guess I see it as like a rhythm. Like, everyone's moving, and just like crowds of people, and they're constantly moving and doing their thing. I think that kind of inspires me, because it's just cool to think about, like, there's so many different people out there, and everyone's kind of in their own rhythm, I guess, in a sense, like on their own pattern and whatever they're doing with their lives. Like, we all got our own things going on, and it's cool to see it in airport or crowded, busy settings for me. And I think I just like people watching too could be very inspiring and relaxing. It's like a lot is going on all at once, but then it's like you're also just sitting there and like kind of like it's relaxing. I don't know if that's kind of weird, but I find it relaxing. Yeah, and my heartbeat also. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. I didn't think that far ahead. Airports are cool in busy, crowded places, but
I think airports are awesome. It's like, you're staring at everyone just coming early, and you have the one person that's late, and they're literally just, that changed the rhythm up completely. You're like, am I late? Like, you just start looking. Is that my flight? No. I love that. Okay. Creatives tend to evolve through their life's journeys as they discover more of who they are and how they want to express and share this. Can any of you share if you feel like you found some kind of steady tempo, I'm just throwing these rhythm words, that you plan to stick to, or maybe why you feel like it's important to continue to evolve and explore? I don't know if that makes sense. So if you guys can share why you feel like...
My life, there's certain aspects of my life that, like, I'm a creature that loves routine. Like, I love to get up at the same time every morning. I like to have, I usually have the same thing for breakfast, like certain habits that are just ingrained in me. And I feel like that's kind of become a rhythm in my life. And I don't necessarily like changing things like that if I don't have to. But then there's this other side of it where if you stay the exact same in every aspect of your life, relationships, like exercise habits, like you never grow. Same with music too. If you're just, sometimes I'll get stuck practicing the same chords or the same patterns or, coming up with like similar ideas, and I'll just kind of have to like zoom out a little bit and be like, oh, am I like stuck? Do I need to move out of this and stretch myself and grow and maybe like go actually like have some real life experience, break my heart or something. Hopefully not break my heart, but something. So yeah, I think for me it's a combination of both, like keeping the things in my life that are serving me and serving the people around me, but allowing room to expand and grow my horizons.
That's awesome, Higgs. Hailey, you have a mic. Let's do it.
I think I definitely have like an inconsistent kind of tempo with me, so I probably lean more towards the evolving side of this question. And I think it's just because like I would love to be like consistent when it comes to like creating and putting out art. It's cool to see people who like have their schedules down and they're gonna release it. They're gonna release stuff at this like on this day and like do it consistently. I think that's definitely very important for me. Just to be honest, I know I'm the type of person that's like very inconsistent with it. But it's something that I'm aiming for, and I think it's just you never know what's gonna inspire you at different moments. That's why it's pretty natural to just be like sporadic for me. So, different things just happen in life, and it causes you to stop, and you're not inspired. You don't feel like creating. You don't feel like getting up and doing like making music, and so yeah, I think for me, I'm very much like I try to just take inspiration from whatever's going on in the moment, but I think a balance of both would be ideal.
I feel pretty similarly. I'm not a very super disciplined person. I like to try new things every day, and it's hard for me to get in a rhythm because I get bored. I like things to switch up. Even just the time of day in which I do something can help me switch things up. And I think the same is true with my music that I'm making right now. I'm still very much discovering who I am as a person and an artist and what I want to say. And I hope that that's a process that honestly keeps going to the end of my career, even though, like Hailey said, a nice balance would be good. But yeah, like being in a boy band, that was never a part of like my plan or anything, and totally changed up the rhythm of where I thought I was going, what I was doing, and so I think, yeah, I like to be out of my comfort zone and try new things. I started off making hip hop, but now I make pop, and I've made EDM before, and there's a whole list of subgenres and different rhythms in all those three genres that I listed already, and I want to explore them all. I want to try them all because I just love music. Yeah, that's the end of my answer, actually.
Drew.
I'm similar to Higgs, where I'm very much a creature of habit. I'm totally a planner. If you look at the calendar on my phone, it's like color coded and like a little crazy. But what I think that allows me to do is create a consistent rhythm at my foundation, and when that is settled and in place, it allows me to kind of be more flexible in the rest of my life. So I do think it's really important for me personally just to have everything kind of at its core kind of set and good, so that I feel like I have steady ground beneath my feet. And that in turn will allow me to be a little bit more creative and do a little bit more experimenting and trying new things. So a mix of both as well.
I do like that, and I think that's applicable to every one of us because we all find ourselves, everybody in this space that even showed up today, congratulations, because this is a very different space, and it just, hearing folks like you share your creative process and even just your day-to-day can help all of us figure out like how to elevate ourselves in a different space, whatever space, even outside of music. So thank you for creating really amazing answers for all of us to kind of think about. We have like 1 minute before we can open up the questioning to our audience. In 30 seconds, let's just squeeze one more question in. How can the awareness of rhythms around us bring newness and optimism into our life? Just shoot it out. That's a hard one, but just get it. Whatever you think.
Oh God.
That's the hardest answer I know.
Okay.
Okay, how about we just give a couple of you guys, so Higgs and somebody.
So I think. Okay, sorry. One more time.
Yes, it is a wild one. How can the awareness of rhythms around us bring newness and optimism into our lives?
Ooh. I think for me, like, just rhythm in general is like, it's like a sign that you're alive because you're hearing rhythm, you're breathing. So it's like, I don't know, like I said earlier, like everything has a rhythm if you listen close enough. So I think that brings a sense of optimism, just the fact that you're alive and you're here, it's like a struggle constantly. You're always trying to do whatever you can to like survive and, find love and all these things. Like, I'm not trying to get too existential, but just the fact that we're here, we're following our own rhythms, I think that's cause for optimism.
Period. Hailey.
With newness and like optimism, I think we're all kind of in our own rhythm right now, whether you're like, I don't know, going to your everyday job. But I think it could be very inspiring, like if there's something that you want to do and you've been thinking about doing it. And I think just saying yes is the first step, and then diving right into it, you're going to enter a new rhythm and a new pattern, and just like what you're used to now, you're going to eventually like get used to the new rhythm. So I think it's a very optimistic like way to look at it if you're like nervous about trying something new. Like there's rhythms and everything, you just got to take the first step and then get it going. And if you want to switch that later in life, it's okay. Do it again. Try something new.
I love the idea of finding the comfort in finding space and starting over and that's great. Can we give these guys a hand for just coming up with these things? Okay, so I think is this time for us to answer the questions? Okay. So no one's going to be walking around. Is anybody have questions for our panelists that they'd like to ask? If they have a particular person, please mention that too. Anybody out there?
Anyone? Oh, there we go.
Rhythm is kind of common between musicians, DJs, dancers, but they all interpret it differently. So to Drew and maybe to Monarch, but to all of you, how does rhythm first experience in music now different to you as a dancer? And then for Drew, who's in production, maybe records, how does somebody who's more loose with rhythm as metronome now coming into his studio and now you're quantizing everything and sequencing everything?
What a great question.
I know. Yeah, dance has completely changed how I view making music. I think when I started, my music wasn't very danceable. It was more like inspired by like poetry or like alternative music. But once I started dancing, I realized like why the club hits are so good, like in a new level. Like, of course, I still like, Nicki Minaj is my favorite rapper and everything, but yeah, dance. Like now, when I'm producing or writing, I'm always thinking about that. Like when I'm, I consider myself an MC. Like I started off as a hip hop artist, and MC means a lot of different things to different people. But to me, it stands for move the crowd. And as a hip hop artist, like, I always want to move the crowd, when I'm making beats or when I'm spitting, like using my voice almost like an instrument. I want everyone on the dance floor and the crowd to be moved, either like physically or emotionally, like with my words or with my performance. And so that's how dance really like influenced my music. And another member in our group, his name is Asher, and he's like an incredible freestyler. He's probably one of the best freestylers like on Oahu. And he really wanted to get involved, in the music creation aspect. And so I was watching him when he was sitting with our producers, the Brews. You guys all know them. And I was watching him like moving, like listening to the beat and like moving. And he was like, "I'm missing like this one right here. I'm missing like this. Like I have all these, but I'm missing like this one." And so he was like working backwards, like from a dancer, like, "Oh, there's a pocket here that as a dancer would be so satisfying if it was like filled." So I'm even like learning from him, because I really look up to him as a dancer.
I love that. Drew, producing.
All right, yeah. So, when anyone is first learning a DAW, like for those who don't know, quantizing is when, let's say you're playing some notes, and then you can press a button and it'll lock it to the grid. So everything is perfectly in time, right? And that's kind of every producer's first instinct, at least when you're first finding your way around a DAW. But one thing that I've come to realize later, or as I've gotten more experience at producing, is like a lot of the records that I really like connected with growing up, they weren't locked to that tempo. Like there's a really influential producer by the name of Jay Dilla. And I mean, he even has, like they call it Dilla time because, Questlove describe it as almost like, it sounds like a drunk baby trying to play drums. But it's like, it just pushes and pulls just enough so that it doesn't like take you out of the beat, but it just creates a little bit of human element to an electronic pattern. And so finding that kind of balance because I mean, if you just quantize everything, it kind of takes the life out of your rhythm. Mm-hmm. And we're humans, we're not machines, and so trying to find that balance. Okay, when can I lean back a little bit? Okay, when can I push it a little bit? Yeah. That's kind of, I mean, if I could have that locked in like Jay Dilla one day, it'd be amazing.
I do love that, and even like quantizing some, or locking in some parts of the music and keeping some raw and unquantized. Absolutely. Also has the push and pull. I love that. That was a great question. Do you have any time for any more questions, though? Or? Okay.
Hi, I respect music artists like more than, not more, let me not jump to that, but like you guys do something that's like so foreign to me as a visual artist, so I just want to like applaud you guys for doing that. I think it's the coolest thing ever. And my question is, when you guys get in a creative block, what's the thing, like how do you find your rhythm after being knocked off of it? Or maybe like, I don't like the word losing it, but like kind of like straying off your normal rhythm.
Awesome.
I sit in a room alone and I just cry. No,
Me too. Pet your tortoise.
It's very therapeutic. No, I think as artists, well, I can only speak for myself, but there's times where you're just like going, and ideas are just flowing, and you don't even feel like you're really trying. And then there's times where it's like you couldn't write a good song if your life depended on it. And so I find that second part to be true more than the first part. And so for me, I really just try to put myself in position to be inspired as much as possible. And I do that by writing regularly. So sometimes I'll just take off like the inner critic, and I'll just write like 3 pages of just nonsense or garbage, or I'll write about, like if I'm trying to write a song on a certain theme or topic, I'll just write everything I can think of about that thing. And sometimes that helps like unleash little new ideas or little turns of phrase that I wouldn't have thought of otherwise. The other thing I find that it's really important to take breaks from being creative. It's like you're working this muscle of creativity, and if you keep working it, you're just gonna burn yourself out, and then you're just, it's no good, like you suck. So it's better to not have that happen.
That's the inner critic right there, you said.
Yeah. I know, I got to turn my inner critic off. But anyways, that's some of the stuff I do. Hope that answers your question.
Anybody else?
Anyone else want to touch into that? Maybe one of you could? Yeah.
I think when I go through creative blocks, which I feel like I'm still in one, taking a break is really important. And something I'm trying to practice right now is turning off that inner critic. Like he was saying, like I think that's what really stops you, like from getting everything you need to get out, even the bad ideas, like out there. Like I definitely have this bad habit. And of like, if I'm writing a song, I'll write like 2 lines and then be like, oh, I hate that, like, no. And then I get frustrated and then I like put it to the side. So I'm really trying to like, turn off that critic and just like, who cares if it's bad? Just put all your ideas out and then at the end of it, you can always like choose which ones you like. And then I think also like, pulling inspiration from everyday life. I love Pinterest, so I like to scroll through that sometimes. Or even on Instagram, I have like this tab called Art Inspos where I save things, and it's just like literally anything that I like. Like, I don't know, I was passing this ad, and I liked the color of her collar, and I was like, this is cool. I'm just gonna save it. Like any little thing, I think I just kind of put it in my pocket, and then it's nice to look at, and then there's always like reasons why you like that thing or why you didn't like that thing, and I definitely use that when I'm like creating things, and it helps you kind of get more of a sense of like, I don't know, just your style, I guess, and whatever you're making, and yeah.
A collar, I love that.
Yeah, little things.
Noah, are we?
We could do one last question, if anything. All right.
Anybody? Cedric.
How's it? Good morning, everyone. Appreciate you all showing up and sharing everything. I have a kind of like a 2-part question. So in regards to your rhythm as creating a new song, what's your approach as far as does the instrumental or the music come first and then the lyrics second, or vice versa? And then when you are writing the lyrics, do you do hooks first or verses first?
A question from a hip hop artist.
Does anyone want to go first? Oh, there's only one mic. Yeah, go.
I'm also a hip hop artist. What's up? I feel like we definitely met before. How's it going? Good to see you. I always start with the beat first. I think that's a pretty normal hip hop thing to do. But I used to in high school, actually, when I was in church, I used to spend like the whole service just like writing bars. Just like I was out of boredom, to be honest. So that was like the only time in my life when I was writing and then trying to put it to a beat. But usually I like to write to the beat because it influences what pockets, like rhythmic pockets I'm gonna fill, and what direction I'm gonna go. And as far as what part of the song do I write first, I guess I don't really have a system. If the story of the song is like flowing first, then maybe I'll start with a verse. But if I'm getting like more melodies or something catchy or like a really catchy rhythm, because even when I write hooks, I actually start like with the rhythm before I'll even go to the melody sometimes, because a rhythm can be catchy more than just like random notes can. So yeah, I guess it's either way for the second question, but first question, usually beat first.
What's up, Cedric? Same thing, start with the beat. But one thing that I find interesting is that when I'm writing for myself, I usually start with a verse. But if I'm working with someone like Mel or with Chaz, we usually start with the chorus first, yeah? And I don't know why that is, but it kind of just depends on the context of the situation. But definitely, I guess because we're producers, but beat first for sure.
I think everyone was laughing about the church thing because I feel like everyone probably has done that at some point. But also, music's a religious experience, so let's just tie it all together. Anything else, Noah? Any time for anything else, or? Okay, can we just so that you guys know, these artists here all have recorded music. Please go and listen to all of them. We have Hailey Ragamuffs is how you can find her. We have Monarch Crossing Rain is the name of his group. Drew Henme. Drew Hemi and Ryan Higgins, but Higgs is how you can find him. I don't know if Drew's still performing, but these are also performing musician artists, so they have schedules, they have places they perform. Please go and support our musicians, because when they get out there in the world, we might not get to see them around very much. So let's appreciate them while they're here, entertaining all of us. Can we give them all a hand, please?